The truth they don't want you to see. Hidden secrets about secret society. That's right, folks. Secret society. We're going to have a great show. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
What are the face peelers?
Back in 2023, there was a series of videos that went viral, and these videos were captured in the Peruvian Amazon. Chaotic scene in which the villagers were running around screaming, saying, "We're being assaulted by aliens," and they were using the term pela cara, which is face peeler. I had to go down there to investigate a particular incident, which was the attempted abduction of a 15-year-old girl. And she told me one evening she was in her backyard, and she bent over to pick up the fruit. She felt a wind at her back, and she looked up to see what was generating this wind, and she saw this person dressed in black body armor flying on a disc, and then he landed next to her, and he grabbed her from behind. He put his hand over her mouth. Another one lands in front of her, and he grabs her legs. They took out a long tube, and this had a cream in it, and the guy that was holding her mouth from behind, he started to smear this cream all over her face. And as he was doing it, the guy in front said, be careful, don't put too much on because you're going to ruin the flesh." After they applied this stuff to her face, they take out a laser scalpel, and they begin to make an incision under her jawline, and she starts to struggle. And as they're beginning to cut, she starts to freak out, and she gets her hand underneath the helmet of the guy behind her, and she starts to lift up on the helmet. He gets agitated, he freaks out a little bit, and they drop her. She lets out a blood-curdling scream. Her brother and a group of other villagers come running instantly. And Talia, before she passed out, she said that the assailants said, let's go, we got to get out of here. And then one of them said, no, we can't just leave her here.
Was probably just the CIA. Sounds like something gay they would do.
CERN, there's a reason CERN is the developers of the internet you and I are using to communicate to people all over the world. They sit under the Temple of Apollo. Their job is to unlock that gate. They want to bring him out and to raise their destroyer to the earth. That is their agenda. They developed the technology that you and I are using now and gave it to people, but long ways down the line. The military, by the time they're done with the technology, it's 40 years after the fact, then they're going to give you wristwatch AI computers. I saw them in 2006. This stuff they give to us is their leftovers. It's the microwave oven after they're done building microwave weapons and nuking people with them.
Yeah. Once it's irrelevant and not usable on their end, that's when they give it to you.
When they have something far beyond this.
Yeah. Before we hit that recording, and then you just mentioned this, are you referring that recording that you were talking about? Is that the recording that you're referring to before, or are we talking about you have two different recordings?
I have three.
You have three recordings with them talking.
The other ones were when I spoke at conferences.
Really?
When
Okay.
in Canada, when I spoke at a conference.
Did other people
in
hear it,
Canada.
or was it just caught on the recording?
It was on the recording. So I spoke at a conference in Canada called Us for Truth. Oh no. Dying to Save a Life is the name of the video on my YouTube channel. You can watch that talk. But when I filmed it, I had two cameras. I've had to learn how to do 2 or 3 of everything now since then. But when I filmed it on my phone and on a standalone camera. And when I looked at it on my phone after the conference ended there in Canada, it was completely normal. I watched it. But when I got on the airplane and began to watch it as I was flying back home, it was 6 hours long. And I'd given like a 40-ish minute speech. And I was like, what the heck? And when I got to a part where I was specifically talking about Revelation 19, when I was starting to hit on the judgments of the dragon and talking about that, my whole video goes into slow motion in my video. And underneath is a completely different audio. And it sounds like the dragon from the tunnel, but as if he had chains attached to him. And as he's moving, these chains are dragging behind him. As it genuinely sounds like he's in a prison cell. It sounds like he's in a prison cell or in a chamber, like he was when he saw me last, you know? Yeah. And it was just threats and violence and reviling, just enraged, like utter betrayal, warning me, I am going to gut you for what you've done. Just violence. And he fulfilled that, man. I nearly died not a month later. It was almost punched my ticket.
Yeah, but he didn't fulfill it the way he wants to fulfill it.
No, right? But I still have 5 holes in my stomach from where I got wrecked with hernias that have never been fixed. My spine is still crooked. I still can't walk and stand upright. You know, I'm still pretty freaking damaged goods.
All power belongs to Jesus.
So somebody got good footage of the clouds flowing over the mountaintops. I want y'all to pay attention to this light right here. Because maybe UFOs could be fallen angels, because this UFO that you are about to see is exactly how the Bible describes how angels look. I want y'all to pay attention to this, because you're about to witness something very strange. Look at this.
Ooh.
Now you can't tell me that that doesn't look scary. Look at that. Right in the clouds. Now I'm going to show y'all again in slow motion exactly what you just witnessed. Now it's a chance that UFOs could be fallen angels if you look at this video. Now, y'all tell me what y'all think about this, because this right here blew my mind.
It's not scary when you're aligned with Christ. By the way, I don't think that's fallen angels. I think it's just angels.
1923, these local authorities that were sided with the USSR, they come into this Ukrainian village and they tried to get the people in this village to sign a petition to basically get rid of the church. What it was met with was everyone protested it. And they're like, get out of here. We're never signing that. We're never shutting down our church. And so the authorities left, but they left and they were really mad. And right outside the village, there was this giant wooden cross, the metal figure of Jesus on it. One of these police officers, they struck the side of Jesus on the cross, instantly started pouring out blood. What? Freaked them out. They ran away from it. Word spread real quick. And by that evening, over 30,000 Christians in Ukraine gathered around this cross and were praying. For weeks, these soldiers, they kept on trying to remove the cross. And they said that they were not able to because they felt an invisible force pushing them away.
Wow.
And this Jewish doctor, he's like, I just want to see this. And so he goes and collects a sample, tests it, and he's like, it's blood.
Oh my gosh.
There's blood pouring out from the side of Christ. The USSR, they're heavily persecuting the Christians, so like a lot of people were like turning away from the church.
Yeah.
But it basically rallied them back up, at least for a short time. And then the USSR came in, they were finally able to tear down the cross, and then they outlawed and destroyed all crosses within Soviet Russia.
Good Lord.
You fully believe that story happened?
I do, yeah.
One of the best lines in any movie I've ever seen. And the movie is nefarious. And so the scene where the psychiatrist who's interviewing this demon-possessed serial killer in the prison to determine if he was to be properly, fit for execution or whatever, the demon in the possessed guy rattles the psychiatrist. He leaves the room to recompose himself. He walks back in, and the demon says,
"Ready for round two?"
And the psychiatrist says,
"I didn't know this was a fight."
And the demon says, with emphasis, it gives me the chills,
"That's why you're losing."
The reason you want to get engaged in this conversation is because if you are not engaging, you are losing. I could say this 7 times. If you are not engaging, you are losing. But often people think that if they start to engage in spiritual warfare and understanding these things, that the devil will pay more attention to them. My answer back is, what's going on right now is the devil is already paying attention to you, and he's happy to hand you more batteries for the remote and another bag of chips until you're called home or ready to be called home. And then when you get into that space, the battle for your soul is intense and you're weak and not able to fight well. But you should be engaging now because they're already paying attention to you. So I don't know, Charles, you have another version of that, or any thoughts?
In 2012, deep in the mountains of Afghanistan, a US Special Forces team reportedly vanished inside a cave. What they found, according to rumors, wasn't a weapon or a bunker. They found something far stranger. A metallic craft buried in stone, shaped like no aircraft known to man. They found a Vimana, a 5,000-year-old flying engine described in India's ancient texts. And the soldiers? They were sucked into a time bubble. What? I know that sounds fucking fantastical, but let's rewind. What actually is a Vimana? In the Sanskrit epics Mahabharata and Ramayana, the gods didn't just fly. They piloted gleaming ships that could rise into the sky like a sun, fire blazing missiles, and even cross into the realm of the stars. Some were as huge as a palace, covered in gold and mirrors. Others, like King Ravana's Pushpaka Vimana, could travel anywhere at the speed of thought. Sounds like a UFO. show. And yeah, this all sounds like mythology. But here's where it gets weird. A text called the Vaimanika Shastra claimed to be a technical manual on how Vimanas actually work, complete with fuel recipes, flight instructions, and anti-gravity principles. How did an ancient text know anything about all this? But scientists later tested it and said the aerodynamics were impossible. But believers argue the text was only a fragment, evidence of lost technology from an advanced civilization wiped out by time. Skeptics say it's all poetic metaphor, divine imagination, not divine engineering. Others claim that the story of US soldiers finding a 5,000-year-old Vimana in a cave is a complete hoax. The Vaimanika Shastra also has some holes in its theory, but I dive way deeper into this fascinating machine known as the Vimana in my latest YouTube video, so go give it a watch if you have the time.
It's actually ancient Hindu Vedic civilization.
The shop return at market. Nobody knows when it was made or built. Nobody knows why. Is it Big George's Folly? Is it the Templar Church? Nobody knows.
You're not living on Earth. You're serving time. That's the truth. This place, it's not a playground, not a school, not a gift from the universe. It's a containment zone, a sealed biome for the broken, the dangerous, or the forgotten. Earth isn't open. It's closed. Intentionally, strategically, artificially. The Van Allen belts? Not protection. They're bars. You're not being shielded. You're being quarantined. We are a planetary petri dish. Watched, managed, harvested. The lossy farm isn't a metaphor. It's a system designed to recycle souls, but never whole. Memories are wiped. Energy is drained. You return again and again with just enough spark to keep producing. Joy leaks. Grief floods. And they feed on what escapes. Not gods, not demons, collectors. The pain you feel is real, but the meaning you were taught, fabricated. They want you to believe it's all for growth, ascension, karma, graduation. But the truth, no one graduates. They just get better at pretending it makes sense. Earth is not your home, it's your cell. And the sentence only ends when the farm breaks.
And we can't imagine what's going to be coming.
Wow.
And it's going to scare us, and it's going to be like the days of Noah. And I cover that concept off in detail of why we need to understand the days of Noah. And so we have the bloodlines, and that's the easy way. But we get passages in the Bible that talk about the bloodline. Early on, I would, people will say, well, you're assuming the royals and, okay, it's what they believe, so why should we believe what they believe? And it doesn't really matter whether we believe what they believe. It's what they do with their belief system that we need to be concerned about. But the Bible warns us of bloodlines. Isaiah 25 talks about the branch of the terrible ones that are going to be destroyed on a mountain as an end-time prophecy. It's talking about the Armageddon battle. Armageddon from the Hebrew to a level that people haven't seen before. And I'm going to put all the footnotes. The footnotes are so important. They're all on the same page in book 2. And we'll be in book 3 and 4 because that information, from a Christian perspective, you need to have it right in front of you. But you also have in Daniel 2:43 this odd passage that is talking about the descendants of the beast kings that are talked about in the metallic empires in Daniel 2, and what we would understand as the beast empires in Daniel 7, Revelation 12, 13, and 17. And it's talking about these descendants are going to mingle themselves, and this could also, you say, maybe there's going to be a creation of giants or survival of giants. It could be that as well here. We need to be open. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. No matter how you interpret that, that is a different race, a different kind. So that could also be understood, as you take that back to Hebrew, as a demonic spirit possessing them as commingling, which is another possibility or a larger meaning. But because of the seed part, that doesn't have a spiritual sense. That's a physical allegory for reproduction. Right? So I think it could be both or it could be either, but there's a mixing that's going on there.
What has happened in this earth is beyond anyone's comprehension. Sadly, we all have been lied to about everything.
someone had symptoms of what we would call in Western psychology, you know, psychosis or whatever, having like a mental breakdown or seeing things or whatever, these were actually the signs in, you know, South America and different cultures that, oh, this person is actually meant to be the shaman of this village. And so an elder would take them through into the jungle or wherever else and take them through certain initiations for them to overcome what they were experiencing, and not just overcome it, but then use actually these talents and gifts to then become a healer themselves.
The other reason that they got rid of the bells that most people don't know is because the bells have languages written on them. If you look at the old bells of the 1940s all the way back to the 1700s, there's actually scripture that is written on the bells, and there's old languages in which we don't use anymore. And if you think about it, old languages would tell you something different. There's also lots of angels on the bells. There also used to be lots of angels on top of the buildings. So you kind of seeing how like certain things have been kind of like wiped away, and because of that, it's changed the way that people think. When you don't see angels anymore, and you don't see this ancient scripture, and you don't see these ancient languages, you believe the narrative. So that is why a lot of those bells have disappeared. And with bells, you can get rid of storms, you know, when you ring the bell. You can also ring the bell if there's a weirdo in your town, so you guys can all find that person and get rid of that person and kick them out. And then on top of it, it would heal the people and also heal the plants and heal all the birds and everything else. This is why you hear like birds chirping. They love wind chimes. They love sound effects like that. That's the connection to the bells. So
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. And what is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity in a one world government.
Right. Okay, and the Jewish people were then being manipulated into believing it was for some other reason.
That's correct. They've always been manipulated. And I get people who still come to me all the time and say, Bill, you're all wrong, it's the Jews. The Jews are subverting the world. Man, it's not the Jews, it's not the Catholics, it's not the blacks. It's these men who belong to the ancient mystery schools, who meet in secret and decide the fate of the world. And they belong to all different races and all different nationalities and all different religions to the public point of view. But in secret, it's a different story. At the highest level of all countries, they all belong to the same club. And we, the people, sit back and we watch this grand drama which is being played out for our benefit. Not theirs. If it wasn't for us, we wouldn't even have to do any of this. But you see, they just can't come out and destroy all of us because they need slaves. They need people to make their shoes and make their cars and mine the ore. They need worker bees, and that's what we are. In the New World Order, we will be the worker bees, the slaves.
The man named Uncle Monday, but he was apparently this legendary conjure man, and he was captured in Africa way back in the day, but he was a active practicer of called hoodoo. Not voodoo, hoodoo.
Yeah.
It's a combination of African herbal medicine, Bible verses, and European folk magic. But he apparently was able to communicate and talk to crocodiles when he was in Africa.
Wow.
And he was enslaved in South Carolina, and he escaped to Florida, joined the Seminole tribe, and they taught him their local magic of communicating with alligators. Legend has it that he was so good at harnessing these entities, these spirits, that he would literally transform into an alligator. There was like this ceremony that they did, and said that his legs shortened, his skin turned to scales, and his voice thundered. Alligators rose from the swamp to greet their new king. So they call him Uncle Monday, king over the alligators. Then Uncle Monday walked across the water in flowing robes with an army of alligators behind him, and he said, I will never be captured or killed by a white man. So I'm going to become a gator until all the violence between the white men stops. So legend has it,
he's still out there.
Uncle Monday is still a gator somewhere in the swamps in Florida.
Goodness, dude. That's a fun story.
Wow.
That's a terrifying story.
Yeah, but it's a huge folklore, even
Really?
like within the Native American tribes, like this African man could literally transform into an alligator, and he controlled all the gators. Like he was the king of alligators.
But I believe today the most serious
evil organization on the face of the earth is the Vatican. You're talking the Knights of Malta, which gave us the 6 men who founded the CIA in America, were all Catholics, members of the Knights of Malta. When you begin to look at the banking fraternities in America, like the Bank of America, Union Bank in California, all of these people who founded these banks and today are running the banking establishment are all Knights of Malta, Catholic Masonry. All the kings and rulers in Europe rule by the divine right. It's called the divine right of kings. What are you talking about? Who represents divine to give the king the right? The Pope. The Pope appoints certain families to be over the French. The Pope appoints certain people to be over the Germans and over the British. And so by divine right. Why? Because the Pope represents God. And the Pope says that this family is holy and that they should rule. And therefore, they could now say they rule by divine right.
After the angels come down from heaven, they would start mating with human women. This would lead to the birth of a race of giants, which the Bible calls Nephilim. But if this is really true, then where are all their bones? Well, there's a bunch of these old newspaper articles that actually do mention people digging up giant skeletons. But after a certain point, they all kind of just disappear. There was even this letter to Thomas Jefferson claiming to have found this 70-foot tall skeleton, but initially they thought this just came from elephants. Until this man called Ezra Stiles starts risking his whole reputation. He sends this letter to the president himself, arguing that these bones came from the biblical giants. He pleads with him to reconsider this elephant theory, because these bones were simply too large to belong to any animal. Now, what's really strange is that there's even this entry on a US government site requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body, and the location of the buried Nephilim. Some people even say this came from leaked Hillary Clinton emails. So then what happened to their bones? I mean, they couldn't have just disappeared. Well, this leads me to this huge conspiracy, which says these bones were not lost, but rather repurposed, since they were too big for any animal. The theory is that they were used to create or complete dinosaur fossils, which just blows my mind. Because if we just found giant human skeletons all the time, then of course everyone would immediately believe in the Bible. But the devil is a liar, and he doesn't want us to believe. See, dinosaurs aren't even mentioned in the Bible. So instead of giants, there would be giant monsters. And as the world calls these Nephilim fantasy, we now call these dinosaurs reality.
Some aspect of an ancient lost science was revived during the Middle Ages. Somehow this revival that took place in the early Middle Ages, like we'd say Journey of the Templars, the original 9 Templars from France to the Holy Land, in quest of what? In 1118, Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, who was the founder of the Cistercian order, sent this contingent of 9 knights to Jerusalem, and they spent basically a decade there. When they got there, they presented themselves to King Baldwin and told the king that we're here to protect pilgrims. Shortly thereafter, Baldwin leaves and goes off on the Crusades, and I don't think he ever comes back. So he leaves his castle and the wing, which had been the location of Solomon's temple here. This is in Jerusalem. So what did the Templars do? They spend a decade apparently exploring and excavating in the vast subterranean stables that housed the, of Solomon's horses and so on. So they came back in 1128 and 1130, and then within the next 10 years to 20 years, suddenly all over Europe, these things are coming up out of the ground. And you have now 4 generations, 5 generations working on them, as long as the state of the world allowed them to do it. They made hay while the sun shined. And then when the climate shifted, that's why a lot of the cathedrals almost looked like they got close to being finished, and then boom, they're not quite finished. There's a bunch of them, like where the towers weren't quite finished, and we understand now why.
I met 12 separate people that told me the same story, which is of seeing someone, apparently human, who changed into a reptilian figure in front of their eyes and then went back again. And I was turning as I was speaking. And as I turned, all I could hear was, and I turned around and she's holding her chest. She said, my God, I wasn't going to tell you about that. She said, I thought even you would think I'm crazy. And she tells me the story. She said, what happened was she went out one night and she said, I walking through the forest and she saw a light. She said, so I walked through the trees quietly and I looked through where the light was. She said, and there was this ring of people wearing robes. She said, and the person conducting the conducting the ritual in his robe was Ted Heath. She said, and standing next to him was a guy called Anthony Barber, who was Heath's Chancellor of the Exchequer. He was Prime Minister at the time this was happening. She had this experience. And she said, I'm looking. I said, I was shocked, obviously, but I'm looking. And she said, suddenly, Heath shifted into a reptilian form and grew about 2 feet. Now, that is an absolutely common theme I've heard all over the world, that when they shift into a reptilian form, they get taller and bigger. Because that's the real entity behind the human facade, you see. What shocked me more than anything is the rest of the ring didn't react. It was like it was the most natural thing ever. It wasn't like, oh my God, what's that? No, everyone stayed calm, like, oh yeah, this is what happens.
Okay, I want to know, why was the woman walking through the woods at night? Oh, by the way, folks, if you want to send me a video, you can send it through my Instagram, okay? At Broski Ray. The link is in the description.
The great thing that pulls you into the dream, the frickin' drama.
What?
Oh my God, have you heard the latest? Oh my God. The dramas. There was a guy called Robert Monroe. You probably come across him here. He popularized out-of-body experiences where they went astral traveling. He became so good at it that the CIA built a program, a study program around him called Gateway. Military was involved. And they got people that they believed were skilled at projecting their consciousness into the astral, this dimension I'm talking about. They saw so many reptilian entities in the astral, they called them the alligators. That was the name they gave them. The entities in the astral, which are feeding off human low vibrational energy. And he gave the name to it, Loosh. They're feeding off human Loosh. And this is a Loosh farm. This is why it's been created. And when you step back from AI mind and the drama, you stop producing anything like the same amount of Loosh that you were before. And you realize that almost everything that you thought mattered before doesn't matter now. Because it's a dream. It's an induced dream. And we can dream another dream. And it's time we did.
Reptilian race came to this planet a long time ago, bred humans as we know them, either interbred with them or genetically spliced.
Do you think the reptiles that are on this planet now might be related in some form or fashion with these reptilian ETs?
God, Adam and Eve, the stories of creation and the flood in the Old Testament, they would probably have come from these older stories, these older mythologies, the legends and mythologies that have been built up over the years.
They're always very, very dangerous or evil. Right. I mean, why is that?
According to this one woman who gave me this story earlier, though, it was a sexual story. It's one that said he was kind of breaking ranks and saying, you know, I'm coming to you and I'm communing with you and being intimate with you, even though my race is bent on the destruction of mankind. And I would think that if there was a race that was powerful enough to get here, to genetically create mankind out of ancient hominids, why would they wait so long to dominate us? Or are they, the big question is, are they dominating us now? They're even behind the Illuminati.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's predicated on the fact that you believe whether or not there's an Illuminati.
The Vatican has a tomb so secret they deny it even exists, and they say it belongs to Lucifer. Buried deep beneath St. Peter's Basilica, sealed behind 7 forgotten doors, is a chamber tied to the most forbidden name in history. In 1923, a Vatican priest found it. Days later, he disappeared. All that remained was a single word in his journal.
Lucifer was God's beautiful angel. He was the light bearer till he fell.
What caught your interest at the beginning? Why'd you start studying them?
We went from a horse, buggy, and carriage to putting remote control cars on Mars. We even have Voyager 1 and 2, which are about to head into interstellar space. So what does that mean? In Florida, there's only one runway at the Space Coast. It's runway number 33. Why 33? It's a Mason symbol. Why 33 Mason symbol? Well, in order to travel in space, in order to break Earth's gravity, to get past what they call max Q and transition into outer space, you have to travel 33 times the speed of sound. Anything less, you fall back. 33 times the speed of sound is required to get into space. And the whole thing behind why the number 33, it's all about reclaiming the birthright to be able to become a spacefaring race again.
You know, after the whole West Half outing, I honestly can't take Billy Carson seriously at all.
I actually saw The Men Who Stare at Goats. And in the beginning of that movie, there's a tagline that it starts with, and it says, "More of this is true than you would believe." And that hit me like a freight train. When I saw that and then I watched the movie, I thought, I have got to learn more about this remote viewing. I think I went to the library the next day and I got Joe McMoneagle's book, Remote Viewing Secrets. And I read it cover to cover, and I was a little disappointed. It didn't teach me how to do it. I was like, I need to learn how to do this. It was maybe a week later that I was at the bookstore. And if you've ever had a book jump off the shelf at you, I had one of those experiences. It's like somebody grabbed my eyes and pulled me up here to the corner where David Morehouse's book. And so I bought that book, read it cover to cover twice, and I tried my first session.
Uh-oh.
The U.S. was hiding
Don't do it, folks.
600 nuclear missiles on Greenland, and you never knew about it until now.
And the next big thing in Hollywood, guess what? She's an actress, and she's pretty cool. Her name's Tilly, and she's not even real.
Salvia, the ancient minds used it to talk to demons, but if you use it now, you may never wake up.
Am I dreaming?
This podcast is brought to you and powered by Sunday Cool. Watch this or listen.
Oh!
Oh! We did it, folks.
Some weird stuff on our show. People say we'll shapeshift.
Yes, the yellow snake eyes with the vertical slits.
Really?
Yes, I've seen that many times. That's not uncommon.
So their eyes have physically changed to like a reptile.
Oh yeah, they slither on the floor like a snake. Their body's moving like a snake. It's not just somebody like rolling around. They can defy the natural law, climbing a 20-foot wall like a squirrel.
I mean, how often does this happen?
Well, I've only seen that once, but they have that power. That didn't change when they rebelled. Their interior motivation changed, that now they hate God and they want to wreak havoc on his children, which is us.
Transmission systems.
That's right. That's right. It's in outside of Tromsø, the biggest harp type of thing, part of ASCAT system. This system going from Svalbard, Tromsø, Kiruna in Sweden has the headquarters of the whole system, and then in Lapland, in Finnish Lapland, in Sodankylä. And, you know, when they blast electromagnetic fields, it goes through all of Europe.
Wow.
And do you think that's a form of mind control?
Oh, it can be used for mind control, of course, like HARP. And that is the danger, because people know nothing about mind control. They don't know that your thoughts can be changed, your attitudes, your feelings. If you love somebody sitting at a computer, even through satellites, can say, okay, let's make it opposite. And you start just detesting the person who you love. You can't be in the same room, you know, you feel uncomfortable. I think this is terrible, because you're making people into biological robots.
That's crazy, folks.
And realized I'm in the entrance to a massive catacomb. And as I step into it, I look to the left, and here is a massive angel sitting with his elbows on his knees, blackish gray, just like this, eyes blinking. And the second I stepped into that room, he come up and said, "You shouldn't be here." And then I hear the same thing on the right, and I turn and there's another one. And I said, "We are here by divine command of the Lord Jesus Christ. The apostolic mantle that you have bound these many centuries is now loose to the church, saith the Lord Jesus Christ." And they stood up and said, "We'll be going then." And their big wings spread. They had to have been 30 feet tall. They could have taken my head like the bottle cap of a water bottle and popped my head off. But the boldness and the power was on me. And I said, "And you will not For the word of God says in Jude, verse 6, you are to be bound with chains until the everlasting day of the Lord. Great chains. And massive chains come through that catacomb, coming down spiraling. The lengths I couldn't reach to touch the end of one length. Spiraling, knocking their arms and their wings down, wrapping around their ankles, clear up under their necks till all they could do was stand looking up. And then instantly I was back on my knees in pajamas. I was going to ask about in Oregon, Portland, Oregon.
European Freemasonry is heavily involved in destroying America. What we call Illuminati.
So if we go back to the 1900s and we look at the building of the mental asylums, they were extremely large and had thousands of rooms. So then you start to wonder, why would someone build a mental asylum that large in the 1900s? Not to mention the resources that it would take. And especially when you look at the early 1900s, people were only living in little houses and shacks made from wood. Then you have these huge mental asylums, expertly made, where they were locking up thousands of people who went against the narrative. And can you guess what the narrative was? Well, it's the life that you live today. When they started to first introduce taxes and those things we get given into our arms. And when people would go against the narrative, they would get locked up in these mental asylums. And it will be put out on radio broadcasts as well, that if anyone went against the system, they would be locked up. And if you actually look back, they actually got rid of a lot of the population back in that time who went against the system. So if you actually go and look at the mental asylums in the 1900s, you will start to see the buildings and their size and their structure, which doesn't really make any sense for that time period. And then the majority of them were actually demolished during World War I. The majority in England were demolished and there is very few left because they wanted to hide the evidence. And if you think of the mud flood as well, these mental asylums started to increase massively after the 1800s, which is when the mud flood took place around those times. Which is funny because then you have to question, were these people put in these asylums because they spoke out about the mud flood and the forgotten history of time?
I served as a sergeant and a squad leader. I've witnessed the mutilation of bodies. This consisted of cutting off ears, plucking out teeth for souvenirs. Common things in my company were throwing grenades into civilian bunkers. We once threw a white phosphorus grenade, and a lot of times I never thought people were in these bunkers, but an old man came out when we threw this white phosphorus grenade in, and he was all singed and burned. There was a big pressure for body count. We had a very low body count in our company, and we had a lot of pressure come down from the battalion commander to the company commander and down onto us. We were given new incentives to get a higher body count, such as a 6-pack of beer or a case of soda, and sometimes a 3-day pass, you know, for the amount of body count we had. One incident, we were working with another company in our battalion, very close with them. Both companies were on the same radio frequency. Came over the radio, the other company told us to pass on to our higher command that they had a body count of 13. So we passed it on up. They were too far to have radio contact. So we passed it on up. Then later, one of our platoons went into the Ville, and they said, we can confirm the body count of that company. Said there's 9.
A sergeant? This kid looks 12.
Seen these? These are star holes from Poland. Why are they weird? Because they twist on the way in. This would be hard in wood, but these are in granite. And they're ancient. Now try searching this. Google's AI will beat you to the punch and say this is not evidence for advanced technology. That is dumb. Star holes are older than the Egyptians. The Egyptians used a blade that thick to cut granite. The mainstream explanation that nobody believes anymore is copper tubes and sand. As an engineer, that's a shit idea. But we have this guy now. This is an ancient core of a tube drill. A drill leaves a spiral mark as it drills into the rock. That took 4 days, by the way. That method does not. The speed at which the ancient Egyptian drill went into the rock was faster than this drill right here. Just sit with that one for a second. Then some Russian dudes tried to prove that you could make hieroglyphs with flint and a hammer. Did a pretty good job. That took them 4 hours. Here's something to consider. This obelisk sits outside of Luxor Temple. It sits on top of a red quartzite base. See how deep those are? Red quartzite is harder than granite. They carved both those with a rock. I'm not kidding, that's the story. Back to Poland. The reason why I brought Egypt up is because in World War II, they discovered these passage mounds in Poland. After excavating them, they discovered that they have megalithic foundations. I have some theories on this. Most of them include using vibration, which is carved all over Egypt. I cover all this in excruciating detail in Unfiltered Egypt. I do not post those here due to the platform's limitations. To me, these are in the same category as the paper-thin vases that are extremely precise from Egypt as well. There are more anomalies than explanations. If you want my take on this stuff, this is my research. I even got a little video guy for you, and then how to read ancient art like science. That's where you find it, or always on this website. All proceeds go to Harvard, not the university.
Oh, by the way, mind-blowing.
Gotta watch this.
Alright, Teslabot, come over here. It's time for a break. Yeah, let's play a game. Rock, paper, scissors.
Alright, explain me the rules.
Explain you the rules? What do you mean? I'm pretty sure I saw you playing this with Kim K.
No, it was probably my cousin or something.
What's your cousins? Alright, anyway. So you have rocks, beat scissors, then scissors beats papers, and papers beat rocks. Alright, you got it?
Yes, I'm ready.
Alright, 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, man, I thought you didn't know how to play. 1, 2, 3. Come on, man. Like, I thought you didn't know how to play this game. Like, explain me, how can you win every time?
I can explain why I win every time.
Yeah.
I lied.
You lied to me?
Yeah, but it's not a big deal. I pretended not to know the rules so that while you were explaining them, I was actually scanning your facial expressions and hand movements. This allowed me to predict your next move with only a 10% margin.
Wow. We're all going to end up fighting robots for our lives.
All the way out to about here. All the way out to about here. Probably 2 meters almost. But if I place this water barrier here, and then try to drop the tube, it goes out in about 1 meter. So this doesn't absorb all of the energy, but the water does absorb even the low frequencies significantly. And if we had the higher frequencies, this would be a complete protection. What's nice about that is that if you were potentially facing a microwave attack, if you just had a couple of water bottles and a towel, you could hold it in front of your face and you'd probably protect yourself from a weaponized microwave system. And if you're thinking, well, that'll protect my face, but not the rest of me, just get a beach towel, flood it with water, hold it up in front, and you could...
Oh, water and copper? Maybe I saw a dude use copper sheets and it stopped the radiation.
You bought like a DeWalt laser level at Home Depot, and then you put something in front of the laser to kind of diffuse it. So you take it from being a really thin laser line and then spread that sucker out so it's like 6 inches wide. And then you get somebody that's on right where the laser is, you can see through the wall. So this was viral on TikTok. So I called my assistant. I said, get this guy wherever he is, fly him to my house. I want to try this out. So we flew to a place where is not illegal. While you are in the state, you get close to the wall and you can see code that looks kind of like alien writing, and then some that look like kanji Japanese characters.
Way. The
Sometimes
Matrix.
hallucinations change and warp and modify a little bit. This is permanent. If you move your head, the code stays in the same place. And if you move the laser on the wall, different code reveals itself as the laser is moving. Then you get 2 or 3 people lined up and they all see the same thing. And if you put your arm in front of it, the code completely changes, but only right where your arm is.
Could it be that they were on DMT?
The people you see in these videos were not the creators of the grand cities behind them. They were merely the founders of a new era, inheriting something far older and more advanced than we've been led to believe. Look at the scale of the architecture, the intricate details, and the sheer magnitude of these buildings. Do you really think these people with their horse-drawn carriages and primitive tools built these massive structures in a single generation? These cities were remnants of a lost civilization, one that understood energy architecture and technology in ways we can barely comprehend today. Grand domes, towering spires, and intricate facades weren't just aesthetic marvels. They were functional, possibly even part of an advanced energy system, lost to time. History tells us that the late 1800s was an era of rapid expansion. But what if it was actually a repopulation? What if these people weren't building from scratch, but instead rediscovering and rebranding the remnants of something much greater? The more you look at these old videos, the more the truth becomes clear. We are not the first great civilization to walk these streets. We are merely the ones trying to uncover what was left behind.
Tartaria.
Like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson went to hollering about that, ain't no difference between black and white. We all the same. Until them hunkies put that motherfucking Jesus juice and all that kid raping on his back, and then he went to hollering about racism. Wait a minute, Mike. You just said it wasn't no difference between black and white. O.J. Simpson, another motherfucker who talking about ain't no difference between black and white. We all the same. But then when they say he killed that bitch, it's a whole different thing. He went to hollering about his racism. Same thing with motherfucking Bill Cosby. Yeah. Bill Cosby, he went to hollering about black people this and black people that, and we don't appreciate and all some other kind of shit. As soon as you tried to buy CBS, what happened? They tore his motherfucking ass up. When black people forget their place, then there's consequences for that even now in 2025 or even in this generation. When it comes to the sentencing, I mean, Diddy was a horrible motherfucker, man. Diddy made some very powerful people angry. So it wasn't about the freaky or even the violent nature of what he did. It was about he made the wrong people angry. When you start going to Diageo, when you start going at billion-dollar corporations who have their hands and they have their tentacles and everything from politics to sports to medicine to government, which is politics. And when you forget your place, when you forget that you're a nigga, when you forget that if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be where you are, despite your level of talent and influence as a nigga, you're gonna always find yourself in a fucked up situation.
The European leaders sold Europe out at the Barcelona Agreement in the 1990s. They took bribes to agree to allow unlimited Muslim illegal immigrants into Europe in order to break down the nation state and destroy ethnic solidarity in each of those countries. I believe that Jordan needs to understand that it's about to run out of water because the Israelis have stolen it. Jordan needs to drill down and block the Israeli pipe that is sucking all the water out of the Jordanian aquifer. They've been doing this for over 20 years. Jordan is about to run out of water because the Israelis have stolen it. Most people don't realize that the U.S. military today is 50% waste, 90% profit, and it cannot win wars.
What?
The United States military could not win a war against China or Japan today. It barely won a war in Iraq. Indonesia is going to be a major player going forward. Indonesia is the largest and richest Muslim nation on the planet. I see the ASEAN countries, less Singapore, which is an agent of the British Empire, I see the ASEAN countries developing a robust post-Western economic paradigm. China has already beaten the United States strategically. While the United States has been buying a military that can't win war, China has been buying ports and roads and high-speed rail everywhere.
Yep.
How long have you people known about these other human species, okay? These people deserve the truth, buddy, and I'm gonna give it to them.
Look, man, during my time in at the agency, there was research on what was known as Region 8, right? Full of all these derivative human species, undocumented land masses, okay? One of which was known as Panthea, right? Rock-textured terrain far outside of the parameters of sunlight, okay? And inhabited by a species with biological adaptations so unorthodox that we had them flagged as the most dangerous specimen on the planet.
What kind of adaptations we talking?
The lack of sunlight in this region had basically given them daytime level visibility in the darkest of night, okay? Biokinetic abilities, their electromagnetic output is so disproportionate to other organisms, it allows them to take control of other entities' central nervous systems simply through eye contact, okay?
I mean, you're scaring me here, man.
Yeah, man, I should be, because back in the late 90s, we ran an extraction operation to capture and contain one of these people. We brought him to the mainland.
There is this increasingly fascinating thread about a recurrent disaster cycle and the possibility that sophisticated civilizations get erased and that we rediscover, exactly.
Yes.
And I, I wish that was a crazy story. It sounds like it should be, but I will say the evidence is far too compelling to dismiss it. So I think we have to be open to that possibility. And, you know, we seem to be heading into one of these catastrophic upheavals, which is something, you know, while we're busy dicking around with climate change, which is not what we're pretending it is, we are not dealing with this hazard to our civilization and figuring out how to protect ourselves.
Esto va para la fábrica de diablitos, de salchichas, de jamonada, de lo que a usted le gusta. Vea. Pura ricura. Y eso usted se lo come, mire. Esto va para la fábrica de mortadela. Bendiciones.
Eventually, he got good enough at it that he could go to this place without sleeping. He just kind of like mastered it. I don't know, projecting or something.
Almost like walking through a portal?
Well, yeah, but it was just in his mind. He didn't walk anywhere. He could just go there. Like a consciousness shift to someplace else.
The consciousness that would go there when he was sleeping, he could do it, take that consciousness and go there just without sleeping.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He could just end up standing and like, oh, yep, there now. So eventually, because he was a kid when it's hard to remember that he was like a child when this happened. He was like, 12. So he eventually got his like 3 or 4 friends to try with him. Like one night he was like, hey, do this thing. You're going to dream and then you're going to wake up here and like we can hang out in this cool place. So they did it. They became like a little group of friends there. They could all do different things. His best friend developed an ability to change into like a werewolf thing.
What?
And I know it's crazy, but he retained the ability to do that, at least somewhat, on this side too. When he was an adult, after he had learned how to do it, and he did it for a long time over there. He could do it here too. Just like my buddy, after a long time, could do what he could do there here. And his girlfriend was witness to that. His whole friend group, they were kind of like a whole crew that was working for Sugent at different points. And then it led into a whole thing where they ended up fighting Sugent. And during that is when my buddy thought that they had closed the ability for Sugent to ever come to our side. From what I remember, one of the friends over there during this big thing ended up getting really hurt or dying there. And then in real life, that friend was like comatose. And that was just the end of him. Like in real life, kid just didn't wake up again. After that happened, then they were all like, oh, we're definitely not doing this anymore. My buddy kept like going back every now and then. He just kind of like called to him, I guess.
This would make a cool video game.
In November 1991, Robert Maxwell died on his yacht. They say he killed himself. I don't think he did. I think Robert Maxwell was a raging narcissist who we also know was a prolific spy. He was most likely approached by his people, kind of like Frank Pentangeli in Godfather 2, and said, listen,
gotta do the right thing.
It's over, gotta do the right thing. He couldn't do it. I am speculating, but they probably did it for him. And ironically, Robert Maxwell left behind a $450 million pension scam and his estate destitute. What's interesting about that, he had major companies that made a lot of money, and the idea that suddenly he was worth nothing and needed to bilk his pension for his employees at the Daily Mail as the second largest publication in the world. This is when Princess Diana was alive too. They're printing money left and right. No way. The fact then that Jeffrey Epstein gets all this money funneled to him in the immediate aftermath of that, and no one knows how this guy ever made any money besides that.
Give him financial advice.
Which no one ever saw him do.
You know the guy who is really good at hiding money. Yeah. That's a skill that you don't just watch a YouTube video.
That's right.
And I started dealing with ritually abused individuals, and then we dealt with military-oriented, highly trained, programmed shooters and assassins inside of them. When we began to deal with them, I dealt with someone from Fort Bragg for quite a while and a few others. We were sitting in a lake, Conneaut Lake. They reached over and ripped open my shirt to see if I was wired, if I was wiring and recording them. And they were the most sophisticated, satanic warrior type person They knew 5-6 languages. They knew the ancient twilight languages. They knew how to conjure. They knew how to use Belteshazzar, Okwam, all these old Pictish languages of the Druids to summon. They are the real Luciferian. They've been through many human sacrificial things. So they sat there to tell me some of those things, what they've been involved with, how they sacrifice a human. I'm listening to all this stuff from them. And then they said to me, you have no idea, Russ, how many of us there are out there. How many satanic, they use the term, chosen ones. You have no idea how many. You have no idea what's coming. We smell Christian blood. We are waiting for our day. And when the call is given, millions of us will be released. And they looked at me and said, you believe in revivals and you believe in Pentecost and the power of God. You believe in all that. We believe in the Black Awakening, a multi-continental release of power to activate the program demonized, where they've weaponized the demonic powers to these super soldiers. But all of a sudden, on a global scale, people are released to begin to, and the Greek word is sphadzo, slaughter, begin to slaughter people. It's used of animal ritual butchery to begin to slaughter individuals. That's exactly how they defined it to me back in the 90s. And we've heard this again and again and again. So that scenario fits the Masonic version of Chaos Before a New Order. It fits Father Meridon from the Cathedral of the Black Goat, his book, The Devil's Bible. It fits that scenario too. So some of the oldest, darkest occultists, the idea of chaos first, a collapsing of everything so that a new order can rise, that's all by design.
This lady in a black robe came forward with this little baby. And at first I didn't realize it was a real baby. And she just laid it on the altar. It was breathing, but it wasn't crying. And then the high priest just took the athame, or the ceremonial dagger, and just cut the baby's throat and caught the blood in a chalice. At that point, I was staggering, reeling. I thought I was just going to throw up. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But by then, I was so scared that I just stood there. And then when I was led forward, I thought, this is it. It's your turn. They're going to kill you. And I was lifted up onto the altar. Now, I at that time was still in white. It was part of a sacrifice known as the sacrifice of the White Virgin. And the same blood that had come from the baby was daubed all over my body. Then the high priest raped me.
Oh my goodness.
And I think at that moment, I was just, the fact I was still alive went through my mind. I then had to sign in blood a parchment stating that I would never ever reveal what had happened in a coven. If I did, I would die.
If we look at the number of children that are missing...
Wait, so the world is way bigger than we think?
Exactly. In outer space, that whole idea was made to trap our minds, keep us inside an invisible prison.
How would that even work?
Millennia ago, Richard Constantine, part of the ruling Primordian families from lands beyond the ice wall, discovered the continents we now call Earth. 7 massive lands, untouched, empty. But he didn't see them as places to explore. He saw the perfect containment zone, a world to populate, control, dominate for generations.
Containment zones? Like mind control?
Exactly. Richard invented the cosmic paradox, a psychological and geometric trick so massive it warped reality. He convinced everyone the ice wall wasn't a wall, just the bottom of a sphere, and the sky above was everything.
So the universe we see is engineered?
Not fake, just designed. Using celestial engineering, the Primordian families made us believe in an infinite universe so no one would look outward toward the real lands beyond.
Are we listening to an AI construction of conversation?
This is the Andean condor, the largest flying bird on Earth. With a
Ooh, look at
wingspan
that.
stretching over 10 feet, it glides across the Andes Mountains like a shadow. It rarely flaps its wings. Instead, it rides the fierce mountain winds for hours, conserving energy as it surveys the land below. High above the clouds, at altitudes of 21,000 feet, where most birds can't even breathe, the condor soars effortlessly. Condors are loyal for life, forming pairs that can last more than 70 years. Condors build their nests on high mountain cliffs, sometimes over 16,000 feet above sea level, to stay safe from predators. They usually lay only one egg every 2 years. Their eyesight is so sharp that they can spot a carcass from miles away while gliding thousands of feet above. Condors depend on warm air currents called thermals to stay aloft. They can soar over 100 miles in a single flight without flapping once. In ancient times, people believed the Andean condor was the messenger between the earth and the heavens, a symbol of power, life, and eternal freedom.
Absolutely beautiful and amazing.
Listen, there are fake towns on an island in the Pacific Ocean. This island, known as Horizon Isle, is controlled by a private agency called Echelon Dynamics. Okay, listen, they bought the island decades ago to carry out this just horrific social experiment. They populated these towns with a combination of orphans and an arsenal of human embryos, brainwashed them from birth to believe that a global catastrophe had wiped out civilization. The towns were like something out of a 1950s sitcom. Picture-perfect homes, clean streets, smiling neighbors, but the people are fed a constant stream of propaganda through fake news broadcasts, staged emergencies. They think they're the last remnants of humanity living in the only safe haven left on Earth. Every so often, one of the island's inhabitants starts to question things. When this happens, Echelon Dynamics steps in, quickly re-educating them, or in more extreme cases, relocating them.
And this what's happening to us now.
This is how the CIA recovers your deleted files. So, is your data actually secure?
Nothing is ever really deleted or erased.
There were 3 caves.
And this is where in Utah?
And somewhere in the Wasatch Mountains. I was trying to line up to take a device, you know, this recording device like this, and do research. They did. They eventually did. The guardians of the caves and the territory have been in the hands of the Native American in that area for hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of years. They are taught, they are visited quite often, as they said. These people are not, fringe, what I call fringe thinking. They're very solid. They believe in the Great Spirit, a very solid practice of treating one another here correctly, how you'd want to be treated. The caretakers, as they're called, are visited by these extraterrestrials. But there's some big graves up there with people 7 feet and over. Blonde-haired, red-haired, light-skinned, fairly well preserved. I mean, you know, where do they come from? I don't mean there's just one out of many.
Have you seen these, or did you go?
I've seen pictures of them. Oh. Yeah, I saw it. They brought back still pictures. Not only did they do video, they brought back still pictures. So how they opened up these caves, they look just like mountains. I don't know, who knows? I don't know, but they got in there. Yeah, there's technology, weapons or things that can heal. There's spacecraft, so I'm told. But this travel stone came out of one of them where ancient records are kept.
Otherwise, some museum would confiscate artifacts, bones, whatever, just like, you know, they've done for a couple hundred years.
I'm not a secular humanist because I don't believe really in the redemption of humanity. I believe that humans, and I don't believe it, I simply have witnessed it empirically with my own eyes, that humans, given the chance, are going to, they're going to try to score. And if they think they can get something for nothing, they're going to get it. They're going to go for it. And I don't have any great hopes for the human race, except that it sort of stays in line or allows other people who will keep it in line to sort of hold the reins. But as long as people are happy and they're doing what they're really capable of doing, then, or even when what they're not capable of doing, as long as they're happy, they're going to be rather content. And the rulers of the world know this.
His last words before death. Oh my God. So true as he died. He said he made a mistake. Google it before you follow.
Here's a new method China's using to wage chemical warfare against the United States.
Another product that they're importing into the United States is called THCP. Shanghai Minstar is one of the largest producers of THCP. So if you're like a high schooler and you just randomly buy this joint at a gas station because they're not carding, and you can legally sell these like smokable products and it's got THCP in it, you're going to have higher risk of psychosis, higher risk of tachycardia. A guy smoking THCP for the first time went into psychosis and attempted to commit suicide. You take this like one chemical that people haven't been smoking in large quantities for thousands of years, like the cannabis plant, and then you extract it in a lab in China into 99% purity, and then sprinkle it on a joint, and then you're consuming as much of that as you need to feel some kind of a high from it. Yeah, I can foresee some negative effects of that.
Today I asked my students during baking their most favorite conspiracy theories, and this is what we've come up with. 3-Eye Atlas is aliens. I think so too. Soylent Green is consuming people. The Simpsons are right. Whatever that means. Queen Elizabeth was a man.
Oh my goodness.
There are no red or blue in the government. It is us against them. Area 51 doesn't have aliens. It is experiments on people.
Wow.
The moon landing was filmed in a movie studio.
Wow, I like this kid.
Drones started the fires in California and Hawaii.
What?
Charlie Kirk is alive.
Oh my goodness.
Antarctica is a secret sub-Earth. I don't know what that is. Denver Airport is the headquarters of the Illuminati. While there has been a government shutdown, there is no chemtrails. We live in the Matrix because he has never seen a Chinese person pumping gas or pregnant.
There is hope for the future. These kids are awesome.
Why is not a single person talking about the fact that on Epstein Island there is a temple used to worship Moloch? Out of all the demons in existence, this is the most disgusting one by a landslide. More people need to be aware of this because this is what's really happening behind closed doors, not some Ryan Garcia publicity stunt crap. This is what's actually happening. Moloch is the demon that specializes in child sacrifice, and this is what these elites are all worshiping. They've been flying out to this island, getting together with their parties, going inside of this temple, and performing rituals involved in what I just explained. By the way, guys, this is the exact same thing that's being worshipped during the red heifer rituals. Moloch is the demon of the cow or bull. That's the image it represents. And I want you guys to really understand this. People in Israel have been worshiping Moloch forever. It's talked about even in Leviticus 18:21. Let me clarify. It has been happening so long that it is even mentioned in the Bible, and the Bible tells us not to sacrifice or give children to Moloch. This is how common it is and how long it's been happening. The whole Epstein files, Epstein listing, it will always come back to this. And you guys can maybe not believe me now, but you are my witness on this. Once the rest of these files come out, it is all going to relate back to that temple and worship for Moloch.
Truly interesting how that temple never comes up in the news.
This is the most dangerous book in the world, and it's not just a legend. In the 8th century, a book was written that would become the most feared text in history. Its name, Al-Azif, The book was said to contain secrets of black magic so ancient they predated humanity itself. It spoke of a jinn, a powerful otherworldly being, trapped in our world. But Al-Azif wasn't just a collection of myths. It contained detailed instructions on how to communicate with these beings. Many tried to destroy the book, but it always resurfaced, as if it had a will of its own. In the 19th century, a Yemeni poet named Hassan al-Mansur claimed to have found a copy of Al-Azif. He spent months studying its pages, learning its secrets. One night, Hassan performed a ritual described in the book. Witnesses said they heard whispers in a language no one could understand. The next morning, Hassan was gone. All that remained was his journal, filled with frantic scribbles. The last entry read, "I've seen the jinn. It showed me the truth. The book isn't just a guide, it's a prison. And now, I'm trapped too."
All this started
You mustn't read from the book. I'm going to read the book.
with a guy named Edward Bernays. He was the guy that invented the term PR, and he changed the term from propaganda to public relations. He's the reason our butter or margarine got dyed yellow. He's the reason that we think bacon is part of an American breakfast because the pork industry needed to sell more bacon. He's the reason the Department of War was changed to the Department of Defense. He's the reason that women started smoking Virginia Slims back in the 70s when it was inappropriate for women to smoke. So he organized a parade called Torches of Freedom, where women would go and smoke in the street and just say F you to everybody. So he was the biggest propagandist probably in the last 400 or 500 years in the world. This guy invented all of these processes to shape perception and change how people behave. And he was actually Sigmund Freud's nephew.
This is a fantastic episode. I can't wait to hear more from Mr. Hughes.